I'm sure we all have at least one fragrance that completely immerses us when we smell it, that ignites our senses in a way that we don't really have words to explain. Maybe it's a full bottle, maybe it's just a little sample. However, this fragrance might seem too daring to the average person, thus you don't really feel confident wearing it. And perhaps you've never even received negative feedback on it because maybe you've never even worn it out of the house, or perhaps you've even tried to wear it around people, maybe a loved one, maybe a friend, and you got some negative feedback from them, and that completely deflated your confidence in wearing the fragrance. Just remember that one person's opinion is not everyone's opinion. Regardless of that, I have 5 tips that I'm going to share with you in this video that, if considered, will equip you with ways to wear this fragrance that you love out into the world with confidence. These tips can be applied individually. You can kind of pick and choose, but I think they're most effective when you apply them in a cumulative way. The more of them you apply, the better off you'll be. So let's dive right into it. Tip number 1, practice at home. This might seem silly, but it can actually be very helpful because by practicing wearing your fragrances at home, you're giving yourself an idea of what the heck to expect out in the world. That goes with scent development, that also goes with performance. Now, I understand this might be kind of hard to do if you live with someone that might be a little bit sensitive to something that is not a familiar fragrance. So in that regard, if you can try to find times when you're by yourself for a few hours, that's great. Otherwise, even putting one spray on your hand and kind of living with that for a few hours. Maybe don't just smell it up close like this, because that's not actually giving you an accurate depiction of what it's like to wear that fragrance. Every now and then, maybe try to waft it to yourself, get that whiff in the air to give you an idea of what to expect. But I think practice is crucial. I don't like to get a new fragrance sprayed on as my scent of the day and then just go out into the world without any idea of how the heck it's going to evolve on my skin around me and how it's going to perform.
That is crazy.
So practice. One fragrance that I've been practicing with that I still have yet to wear out into the world, mainly because the times I've had my wife test this on paper, she has not liked it. We'll see what happens, but this is Kingmaker from Chris Collins. I love this stuff. It is a very animalic oud. It's not for everyone. There's a beautiful kind of sweet resinous quality that wraps the oud, but it is a little bit funky and it's pretty powerful. It's a little pungent. So I'm still testing this guy out. And by testing, I mean I haven't actually given it a full wearing myself. I've only put it on my hand. I've only smelled it from blotters. I've only had my wife smell it from blotters. Even after it dried down, it wasn't her favorite. On skin, it could be a different story. My fingers are crossed. But if you're asking me about my opinion on this fragrance, I love it. Tip number 2, don't overspray. Now, I know there's a small group of you guys out there watching this that have already started to click away because you think I'm ridiculous for not being a proponent of overspraying every fragrance. But I can tell you that it is a very easy way to get a lot of people upset with you if you're not considering what you're actually overspraying. The average person will dislike a scent more often than not because it's too pungent or powerful, more so than because it's unfamiliar or a little bit strange. People just don't love strong scents. Basically, any scent can be made or broken depending on how considerate you are of others. For instance, Fragrance du Bois Sahraa, very expensive fragrance, very luxurious, rich, opulent, succulent rose oud fragrance. Just look at this color. I love this stuff. I've loved this fragrance for several years now. However, the last time I wore this, which was just maybe 2 weeks ago, I believe I sprayed it one time too many. It's a pretty rich scent, so you don't need much. I think I put on 4 sprays when I should have done 3. And to be honest with you, I didn't receive any negative feedback from anyone. At least no one said anything. But after about an hour, I was sick of this stuff. It was giving me a headache, and that's never happened with this because I've never sprayed that much of it. And again, just one spray. You wouldn't think it'd make a difference, but it certainly can. And by the way, you are most prone to olfactory fatigue from your own scent because it's going up into your nose all the time. If your nose is being overwhelmed by your scent, imagine how other people feel. Other people are probably overwhelmed by it too. So I'm not saying 4 sprays is overspraying, but overspraying is a relative term. For some fragrances, 4 sprays is too many, 3 is perfect. Obviously for this one, that's what it was in my experience. For others, maybe 10 is too many and 7 is just right. It really depends, and that's why practicing at home will help you understand them even better. Tip number 3, wear this daring, unsure fragrance exclusively in open areas. To put it simply, strong scents need room to breathe. There is nothing sexy about your scent being the only thing that people in a small room around you can smell.
It's not sexy.
Fragrances like Royal Tobacco from Amouage. This is a fragrance I have a love-hate with because I've worn it a few times. I'd say at least one of those times I think I put on the right amount. I can't even tell you what it was. It may have been 3 sprays and I was outside and it was beautiful. Another time, or maybe 2 other times, I wore it probably the same amount of sprays, but wore it inside somewhere and I was choking myself. Not in the sense that I didn't enjoy it, but I'm like, this is definitely a lot for anyone around me right now. And I feel so bad for them because yes, it's a beautiful scent. It's a beautiful, rich, sweet, dusty, pruny plum tobacco with cardamom. And there's all kinds of stuff going on here. Very, very rich, ashy, beautiful tobacco fragrance by Cecile Zarokian. But as we talked about, too much of even a good thing can be very off-putting. So give it room, give it space to breathe. I wear this exclusively when I'm going to be mostly outdoors or if I'll be in a large open enclosed space. Just saying. Tip number 4, wear it exclusively in the cold weather or in a climate controlled environment. Etruscan water from Francesca Bianchi is technically designed to be worn in more warmer temperatures. Even just the story behind the scent, the inspiration behind it evokes being by the Mediterranean Sea, maybe near a forest, on the beach. There's sunlight, there's heat. It just shines with that vibe. However, it's a very powerful scent. It's a very mossy and pretty earthy chypre fragrance that does have some citrus and aquatic elements, believe it or not. It's a very unique take on the genre, but once again, it's also quite powerful. So even though it is fresh, its intense mossiness gets even more intense with heat, and it can become suffocating to the average nose. Hell, it might even suffocate you as the wearer. So wearing it in cooler air, fall, winter, maybe early spring, early mornings, things like that, when it's not hot, helps to keep the scent tame, because when there's a lack of heat, the scent molecules are going to be less excited. They're going to diffuse less rapidly. Therefore, they will not be filling the space around you quite as much, and it's not going to become overwhelming to anyone around you. Tip number 5, final tip, dress it up. Roja Parfums Fetish Pour Homme. This fragrance
is a handful.
It's borderline dirty. It's very dry. It's an animalic chypre. Very intense, very bold, very authoritative. And it's a strong personality all on its own. If you get this fragrance, if you spray it and you smell it up close, you're probably gonna regret it, unless you're already a huge fan of the genre. If you don't dress this type of scent profile up, it will wear you. As I said, I actually love this fragrance. I didn't always, but I've really grown into this style over time, and now I'm really drawn to it. However, I do not dare spray it on my body unless I am dressing to impress. Your whole package, that is what people see and receive from you in a room, just makes more sense if your outward appearance is congruent with the boldness of your scent. Now, that doesn't mean you got to dress up crazy like you're going to the Met Gala when you wear this thing, but it does mean you should probably wear the best of what you have that fits you. So when in doubt, dress it up. Don't spray too much of it. You're probably going to be golden, but make sure you love the scent first. That's first and foremost. Love what you put on. All right, those are my 5 tips to pull off pretty much any fragrance. I want to know what you think of my tips. Let me know down in the comments. Let's have a discussion about it. If you haven't tried any of these amazing fragrances I shared with you, there's going to be links in the description to check them out. And I want to thank you so much for tuning in. Peace. I'll see you in the next one.